Hey guys, it's Kat. How are you doing today? This is kind of a little overdue video, but I wanted to make it. I wasn't planning to make it, but I'm going to because you guys seem to like my piercing related videos. So I am going to give a little backstory, and then we're just going to jump right into the story and the experience and all of that because I got a new piercing recently. So let's get into it. Now, last night, I just got back from vacation. I went with my mom to the Adirondacks, and we were staying in a cabin up there on the lake. It was really, really nice, and we were mostly there to visit my grandma who lives in Glens Falls, but we were staying in our own cabin, and we got to drive down and visit her. So that was really nice. But the piercing studio where I first had my snake bites done, that was a horrible experience. I made a video on that, like, 6 months ago, I think? At around, like, Christmas time-ish, I made a, video on that. That was an absolutely horrible experience, but that's a whole other thing. The piercing studio where I had my snake bites done is in Glens Falls, right near the nursing home where my grandma stays, so I decided to get another piercing while I was there. Now, before you shit on me for going back to another piercing studio in which I had a bad experience at, the piercer who did my snake bite piercings originally no longer works there. So, at least I don't think he does. He was not in there, and he was nowhere to be found when I went there. So, he no longer works there. So, I decided to take a chance and go back and just see what could happen. Now, I know you guys are, like, tired of my rambling, and you're like, bitch, shut up, show us the piercing, where is it? My mom, has to, approve of all my piercings before I get them because I'm still living under her roof, and she's like, you're living under my roof, I make the rules. So, she has to approve of all of my piercings before I get them done. And, she allowed me to do this one kind of on a whim, because I mentioned it to her when we were in the grocery store, and she's like, oh, just randomly, and she was like, oh, that would be okay. But can we wait to do it, because this was like a week before we left, and she was like, can you wait to do it until we go to New York, because I want to get my hair cut. She never did because she's scared of cutting her hair, and she just backed out and didn't do it. But she's like, you can get your piercing when we go to New York, and I can get my hair cut. So that was just completely on a whim, and my mom said she would let me do it. Now, the reason why my mom allowed me to get this piercing and just kind of instantly said yes after I asked, she likes the piercings that I have, but she thinks my face is getting a little too crowded, so she probably won't let me put any more holes in my face, at least until I move out. But, she allowed me to get this one because you cannot see it, and I'm going to show you in a minute. So this is what it looks like. I know it's a little red and kind of irritated right now, and that's because it is a fresh piercing, and it is still healing. Don't mind this line, it's because I slouch a lot. And this scarring as well, my dog bit me and it left that. This tattoo is, although not real, as you can tell, it's starting to come off. But this is what it looks like. It's cool, it's a little belly ring. I'm not going to make this like a super long story time, even though this video is probably going to be 10 minutes long because I'm long-winded as fuck. But, so basically what happened was we went to the piercing place that I went to the last time that I was there. And they had moved locations. Like, they were still in the same little mini mall, strip mall area, but they moved 2 doors down from where they were originally. My bad. They moved 2 doors down from where they were originally. So we walked in, and the entire place had been remodeled. They have a much bigger space there. It looked really, really nice. Like, it was nice. But we get there, and we walk in, and there's literally only 2 people there. One guy who might have been an artist, I have no idea, was just chilling in a chair by this big-ass mirror that they had on the other side of the room that I'd never seen before. Mind you, the place got remodeled, so of course I hadn't seen any of it. But this guy is just chilling by a table with his feet up, just playing on his phone, and there was nobody else there. So we're sitting there, and we're standing there, we're looking around, and a guy comes out from the back, and he was very friendly to me, and my mom, and we talked about what I wanted to have done, and he's like, okay, I can do that, let me just get the stuff prepared and you guys can wait. Like, any of you who have piercings know how that whole thing works. And so he told me, like, okay, you can just kind of come back here and sit down. Now, the thing that always kind of, like, threw me off about the studio is the fact that they have rooms in the studio. Like, you guys have been to, like, piercing studios before, some of you have, I'm assuming, like, tattoo shops and stuff, but the thing is that most of them, at least in Michigan, all the ones that I've been to have little separate rooms where they do the procedures. This place, I've been to this place like 3 times now, they do not. So the guy just took like a little chair and like pulled out this little rolling chair and was like, sit down. But it was like the kind of chair that like you have at a hairdresser, but you were able to like move it. So he moved the chair to the middle of the room. He's like, okay, sit down. And I'm like, okay. So he sat down. Well, I sat down and he sat down, and he got all the like sterilized needles and clamps and jewelry and all that stuff out on the table. And then he asked me to, you know, stand up and lift my shirt so he could mark it. He asked me if I was sucking in, just to be sure, because for placement reasons, and I understand that I am bone thin, so it does kind of look like I am sucking in sometimes, but I promise I'm not. I'm naturally that way. So, we did all of that. My shirt was very long. I was wearing an oversized Rings of Saturn t-shirt. You probably saw it in the last video that I made. It was that t-shirt, and it's very long and big on me, so I had to tie it up with a hair tie that I have on my wrist. But I tied my shirt up, and he asked me to sit down, and he like pushed the chair back a little bit so it would recline, and then asked me to like move to the front part of the chair. So I was like, I'm gonna try to demonstrate. I was sitting, so I was like sitting like this. And, you know, he looked at the markings again just to be sure it was okay. And he took the clamps thing and put it on the little piece of skin. My mom is all the way on the other side of the room at this point. Like, she does not give a fuck. Like, she's like, I don't need to hold your hand anymore. You've done this so many times. I don't need to hold your hand anymore. I'm gonna go look at other things. So she, like, goes and, like, is looking at all the tattoo designs on the walls. And she just doesn't give a fuck. I'm getting this procedure done, and she's just wandering around, not holding my hand. But anyway, so the guy, he takes the clamps, and he, like, moves it just to be sure that it's in the right place. The clamps were a little uncomfortable. I've only ever had clamps on maybe one of my other piercings. My septum was done freehand. My snake bites were done with clamps, but it wasn't that painful. The only time in which I had clamps and it was painful was the second time I had my lip done. You guys know that my snake bites weren't even the first time I had them done, and I had to take one out and get it re-pierced. But when I had it re-pierced, the guy was really, really slow about it. Like, he did a really nice job. Obviously, they're even now. But the guy wanted to make sure that they were even and that he was going in at the right angle, so he was really, really slow about it. So that was excruciatingly painful. Anyway, my snake bites are not the point of this video, that's a whole other video. But, so the guy takes the clamps and he, like, is moving it to be sure of the placement, and then, that was my fan, don't mind that. He takes the needle and he's like, okay, take a deep breath in and breathe out. You guys know how it goes. They say they're gonna count to 3 and they go on 1 and just, you know, poke it through the skin. Oh my god. Now, to be honest, my second experience when I had my lip pre-pierced was worse. However, this hurt like a bitch. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, it did hurt. It wasn't awful, like excruciatingly painful, but it was a very, very hard pinch. Like, I will definitely remember it. And, like, the pain, it's like when you get a piercing and, like, it goes through and it happens and the pain is pretty much gone after the pinch. The pain went away almost instantly, but it was a very, very hard pinch. The part when the jewelry got put in, of course, was more painful. There wasn't any blood because, I don't know, the guy told me that, the needle is a tiny bit smaller than the jewelry itself, so when you put the jewelry in, it's going to be more painful because you put a bigger size of jewelry in, so it clots the blood and it doesn't bleed everywhere. But, he cleaned it up with some antiseptic and then had me go look at it, and, you know, he gave me the little card that says, like, healing, what to expect with healing, even though I have, like, 500 of them. But, overall, the experience was pretty great. We got in and out of there in, like, 20 minutes. It went quickly. It wasn't really that painful. Like I said, it was just a really, really hard pinch, and I will definitely remember it, but it wasn't that awful. I have been through worse. But, the guy who did it was actually probably the nicest piercer I've ever met. My piercer, back here, who I've gone to for the majority of stuff that I've had done, he's nice, but he knows me, so it's kind of like, he's very awkward when you, first meet him. His name is Jordan, and he works at Origins. I don't know if any of you guys who live in this area know him, but, you know, very nice guy, but, like, kind of, like, awkward, very intimidating. He's, like, 6'4", like, fucking, I don't know, he's kind of scary, but, this guy who did my navel, he was very friendly, probably the nicest piercer I've ever met. He was like giving me compliments, having me like do like breathing and stuff, and he was just overall like a really pleasant person to be around. Definitely the nicest piercer I've ever met, because the majority of them are kind of like asshole-ish, because I've been to a lot of them. But hands down, probably the nicest piercer I've ever met. I don't know if he has any social media, but his name is Douglas Lamb. He works at Unique Art Studio in Glens Falls, New York. So he was a really nice guy, and he pierced my navel, and it was great. So that was my navel piercing experience. This video is probably going to be like 10 minutes long because I'm long-winded as fuck. But I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And until then, have a good day or night or whatever.